Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Future Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Muller, and today's episode, we have a really exciting guest today. Real quick, for those of you just joining the podcast, we're a B2B growth SaaS company, and we specialize in helping companies scale their revenue using AI. So if you want to learn, how to take your business to the next level, just make sure you stick around. And if you're interested in growth consult with us, just drop the word growth in the comments or DM us, and our team will get you hooked up on that. So anyway, let's jump right in. So let me introduce you to Ari Hirsch from InstaSteam. Ari, thank you for spending some time with us and talk to us about your company.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you having me on the.
Absolutely. All right. So the first thing we always do on the podcast is let's talk to me about your growth leading up to InstaSteam.
Yeah. So before I started InstaSteam, I started InstaSteam basically right out, like a year after high school, going into college. I don't really have much history before that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a kid. So,
we'll talk about how the idea came about and all that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So after high school, I studied abroad for a year. I had the opportunity to travel to a bunch of different countries. I was all over Europe. And that's kind of where the idea sparked for InstaSteam. I was traveling a lot. I was in the dorm for the first time away from home, first time doing laundry on my own. So I guess that's, it was my opportunity to realize the problem. So I was traveling a lot, and I realized that, especially backpacking as a kid, not paying for dry cleaners, and there's not a lot of good options, when you're traveling, especially outside the US. That's where the idea sparked. I was traveling with a garment bag, and I didn't have a travel steamer. So a lot of the hotels I was staying in were like cheap hotels, no services, no irons. And I was like, I want my clothes to look good, and I have no way to do it. So I was like, I have a garment bag already with me. It would be really cool if I could just pull it out and somehow see my clothes in the garment bag. And that's where it all started. So I took the idea. I went back to my dorm after traveling a little bit. I made a sketch video. I started I mentioned it to my friends. Everyone thought it was a cool concept because everyone had the same problem. I mean, no college guys want to steaming their clothes and ironing them after they do laundry.
Yeah, no one wants to do that. But yeah.
Yeah. So it was a cool concept. I even showed my little sketch to some random person sitting next to me on one of my flights when I was coming home, and everyone I had some good feedback. I didn't think of anything of it. I kind of had that. I was always entrepreneurial. I grew up with my parents being a little bit entrepreneurial, so I always had it a little bit in me. Right. I didn't know I would actually come up with an idea and actually launch it at some point. But when I came back to LA after I studied abroad for a year and I started college. I was planning on going into engineering, and so I started my first semester. Still having this idea in my head. I didn't do anything with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it just stuck with me, and it was just bothering me at that point. And
I love that. By the way, that is the entrepreneur 101 right there. Yeah, exactly. It was just in the back of your head, just wouldn't go away, right?
Yeah, it just wouldn't go away, and I knew it was a problem, and I had to solve it. And I did research first, obviously, because I know that people come up with ideas all the time, and it already exists, or there's something similar already. So I still do that all the time, where I'll Google something quick and I'll be like, does that exist yet? So, but there was nothing out there. I mean, everyone was using irons that were the traditional handheld steamers. And there was just no easy solution out there, especially for travel. And so, yeah, that first semester in, I kind of hated engineering. I liked some of it, but I just didn't feel I didn't feel it. And I just kind of started dropping classes a little bit. I started taking the business classes, and I sat down with a college counselor, and they suggested I switch to my business degree. So I switched to a more online. It was online / faster course to get my business degree. That way I can have more time on the side. I started working a little bit. I had a chance to dabble in marketing and web development and some real estate. So I kind of had some side jobs and was getting a taste of different things. But once I started my business degree, after that first semester was really where I decided I was going to create this product, or at least play around with it and see if I can make it work. I don't know if I was going to launch it. I was just let me just see if is there a way to do it. So
is it proof of concept, right?
Yeah,
Did you get to that stage?
At least for myself, not even if I didn't do anything with it.
Right.
So I was literally a mad scientist. I created this product from scratch. I was in my bathroom in my parents' house. I was still living at my parents' house. I was in my bathroom buying materials. I created different versions of the product. I was doing coils in the garment bag and chemicals and all these different. I literally I would go to the supermarket, buy a bag of shredded cheese and empty it and cut it pieces to create the pods and stuff like that. I was literally just, yeah, I ended up creating like my first working sample with like $700, just buying like materials from different places, just putting it together. I was using
where did you do the research to know what materials you needed to use? Like, was
a lot of Googling. I talked to some people, like, just to run ideas by people, like brainstorming, asking them if they have any ideas also, because, sometimes you get roadblocks and you're like, how do I do this? And I kind of ran it by, I talk to my parents all the time, obviously. And, we kind of just brainstorm, like, what do we use? Like, what exists out there? And yeah, it was just trial and error. I bought different materials and different things until I made it work. I created different versions of the product. I mean, some of them I created an electric version. It just didn't work well, and it took longer, and it didn't accomplish what I was looking for.
when you were thinking about it, did you think of where it is now? Were you thinking that's where it ended up, or did you think there had to be electric or some sort of heating mechanism or what?
No, I mean, I think that this is the vision I kind of had for it. Like what I ended up creating was really the vision I had for it. And the sketch video I created originally, when I actually drew it out, and I didn't have like a wire or any electricity like in my sketch. It was just kind of like a thing at the bottom of a garment bag, and I had like steam coming up from it, and that was it.
Yeah.
So this kind of fits the perfect picture of like what I originally envisioned. And so yeah, I like that first semester in is when I started playing around with it, and I was able to make a working sample. And that was in 2017, end of 2017. I was back. That first semester, I was starting that one, I think winter semester.
So when did you have your first working prototype?
So I probably started creating it maybe in September, October time, and I probably had a working prototype by the end of the year, January time. I probably played around with it for a couple months, 2, 3 months probably.
Right.
And I had a working prototype. And then at that point,
did you start testing it in the bags and everything?
Yeah. So then, I literally I was like taking my Macy's garment bags and like different garment bags that I had, and like I had to like I tested different garment bags because like I realized that like depends on the material, it has to trap the seam inside. So I was I was trying different. I was just pulling things out of my closet, testing it. So then once it was literally like a step-by-step process. I mean, it was testing, trial and error, and like one material at a time until it just all came together. This works, this doesn't work, and you keep picking it apart until everything just comes together. So I figured out, the pod material, what the components are, like the insulation, the outer shell of the pod, and then I had to figure out the material for the garment bag, and so after all that, I had like a working prototype. My working prototype it actually changed. I mean, I created a working prototype with a different material, but I realized that it wouldn't work. It would I couldn't figure out like a good solution for it, scaling it and manufacturing it for like to sell to consumers, because it was a great material, but it was like harder to seal and have consumers open it and stuff like that. I was trying to find something heat proof because the pods inside once you activate it, can get up to 300 degrees inside the pod.
Yeah.
So
are they like the hand warmers, kind of the same concept of how they work?
Yeah, similar concept. It's not a gel, and it's a water that activates it, and they get a lot hotter than the hand warmer. I mean, obviously the hand warmers aren't going to burn; they're made to keep you warm. Like you're not holding this in your hand without the protection of the pod around it. I mean, 300 degrees is pretty hot. I mean, the goal of the product. I mean, it's in the name. It's InstaSteam. It's instant steam. And like once you activate the pod, 30 seconds, it's steaming. I mean, the boiling point, I mean, if you put a pot on the stove, it usually takes a few minutes for it to get up there. I mean, this whole reaction, the purpose of it was to skip that whole process of boiling water. It reacts, it's boiling it, and it steams right away. And I designed it, I had to figure out the exact amount of water in there, enough time to steam it and all that stuff. A few months in, I created a working prototype, and then from there it was just modifying and testing until I had like something I can sell.
At what point did you have a thing where you said, all right, we can sell this?
Right. Probably, once I got to this product that I have right now, once I created this working prototype, I realized that this really works. And I tested it a bunch of times just to double check. I was like,
because you probably weren't even believing yourself.
Right, exactly. I was like, well, okay, that sure it worked, but like, will it work again? And like, like this amount, like I tried different times and like different things, and I just want to make sure like it was not, obviously products are never finished. I mean, you're always modifying and taking customer feedback and stuff like that. I mean, this product's still not perfect. I still have tons of things that do to it. After a little bit of testing, I realized that the product works for the most part, and I think this might be a real product. And that's where I connected with someone in our community that was an investor. He actually works with Mark Cuban. I actually reached out to him
I was
because
just going to ask, how come you
yeah.
didn't bring this to Shark Tank for
Yeah.
that reason?
So, yeah, we'll get to that. But I was about to go on Shark Tank. I ended up on a different TV show called $1 Billion Idea. Shark Tank I was supposed to do during COVID, and we ended up pushing it off because everything was shut down.
Right.
So I ended up going on a show the next year. But the first person that I guess technically the first person I pitched to was Mark Cuban, because so I reached out to this guy that my parents were friends with, and he was nice enough, just to help me out. And he's like, we'll send an email to Mark and we'll see where it goes. He's like, I can't promise you any response. I can't, he's a busy guy. Like we might not get any. But we sent him an email, and I think within not more than a few days, I think we got a response from Mark, and he said he liked the idea. I literally didn't even have. I just had my prototype at that point. I didn't even start the company. So he was like a little bit early on. He's like, go on Shark Tank. We could be in touch later on, but obviously it's early on for me because he didn't even start anything yet. But that was kind of like I guess that was my first like validation and like first spark of like, okay, this is Mark Cuban said that it's a good idea. Like maybe I have something.
Yeah.
And his interests also, I guess, this family friend that I reached out to originally, he ended up helping me out and invested in my company. He was my first angel investor after we reached out to Mark.
That's great.
So he got excited about it, and that's how I got started. My first $20,000 from an angel investor, and I was able to manufacture the first like batch and start testing it.
Right.
And then from there it was all just hustling and growth.
And yeah, so tell us about that journey, right? From there to kind of where you are today.
Yeah. So so that was in 2018, probably like first probably towards the second quarter, like mid 2018 already, where I finally where I got that first angel investment, and I was ready to get started now. So I mean, I literally was starting from scratch. Like I had nothing at that point. Like so I was creating the logo and thinking of a name like that. I didn't even have InstaSteam wasn't even the name yet. I was like still brainstorming on names. I was like, and that's where the actual like the LLC that we have right now is part of the original. It was pristine. I was thinking pristine, like pristine. And so I created the LLC. But
like
then
a play on words on Steam, or
exactly,
yeah.
But we tried different things like that. But I think people had a hard time pronouncing it. And my first angel investor was actually the one who he kind of was the one who inspired InstaSteam. Because I think I'm pretty sure I don't know, I don't remember exactly, I don't know if it was exactly his idea or whatever, but he just started going by InstaSteam, even though I didn't even officially call it that yet. And all of our Google meetings, we had like weekly meetings, and he would just write InstaSteam, and so I just kind of like stuck with that. And it was a great name. Yeah,
it's a great name.
Yeah, and I was able to trademark it. It didn't exist yet. I wasn't trademarked yet, so we were able to trademark it, international trademark. And so from there, I basically created my first like 50 working samples that were like good, like they looked good enough to kind of give out to people to kind of start using. So I sold them. I sold them as like testers to people in the community. Got some feedback, and it seemed to work. People liked it. We were at that point we were figuring out pricing and all this different stuff. I think after that I finally like started setting up manufacturing in China, and I couldn't build it on I was literally sitting in my parents' house building all of these things from scratch. So I like at that point, once we tested and we're like, hey, we need to start selling this. I was like, there's no way I can sit there building all of these on my own.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
so did you have to go over there and set that all up?
So I didn't have to go to China. It was more just I knew some people that were in different businesses that had contacts there, and I just kind of started talking to people and gaining relationships on that side.
Okay.
And I found some people that I was able to. That were on the ground there that were able to kind of help me set everything up.
That's awesome.
And by the time I was ready to do my first trip there, I mean, it was already the beginning of COVID. Everything was shutting down. That trip got
crazy timing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we're about to get there. I mean, so 2018, I basically started manufacturing it. We launched it. Started doing doing the sales, like reaching out and trying to get it, out there a little bit.
So we kind of rooted it for a little bit organically, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was more organic. I didn't have that much money to like pour into it. It was So from 2018 to like the summer of 2019, it was really just organic and just kind of like test market. Because it was also still fresh. Like I was still like getting feedback from people and making sure it worked properly and stuff like that.
Right.
So then in 2019, in the summer of 2019, we got our second investor. That was like 100,000, and that was like that was like where I was like, okay, now it's time to take this to the next level. So we like launched a home shopping network, started talking to the cruise lines, and ordered a ton of more inventory. I got my first like small 1,000 square foot like storage warehouse type of thing to store it. I hired a couple people to help me in like that warehouse to build it and get it out there, especially when I wasn't there because I was like out either going to like home shopping at work or meetings or whatever. So I had a couple people helping me out, and then so that was that was 2019. I didn't have that much time before COVID, so that was summer of 2019. Home shopping network was those next few months, and then I had a deal signed with by the beginning of 2020. I had a deal confirmed with a huge hotel chain, or one huge hotel here in Vegas, that we were supposed to. They approved us for our first run in their hotel, which is thousands of units, which was a huge deal. That was like that was like
first big deal, right?
That was the first big deal, and and from there it was gonna be a domino effect. I was like I thought I did it. But that was, I think that was like February 2020, and like the next month already everything was shut down. So I remember I was so excited when my contact called me up. He's like, you're approved for the first run. And then like a few weeks later he called me back. He's like, yeah, it's everything's shutting down, and like we're gonna have to put this on hold. And I was like, I was in the middle of talking to, I had a great, I was with the higher ups and a major cruise line. Like I was literally like this close to like launching in all these huge
right. And then the cruise ships shut down too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everything shut down. I was so focused in the travel industry that it literally it hurt the business so bad, because even though I launched on e-commerce, but like I was so excited about travel, I was so excited about hotels and cruise lines. That was my main focus. Like that's where I was hustling.
But you can't fault you, because it would have made sense. Like no one would have expected COVID, right?
Right. No one expected it. And if COVID didn't happen, I wouldn't even be talking about the fact that I didn't concentrate on e-commerce and like the direct consumer part.
Right.
But unfortunately it happened, and I mean I lost everything, and I mean sales tanked. I mean even direct to consumer side of it, even though I wasn't like super focused on it. I mean everything was just dead. Everyone was at home. Everyone was in shorts and a t-shirt all day. Nobody was seeing their clothes,
Yeah, they weren't thinking about steaming as much.
Yeah.
Nearly, right.
Yeah. So I mean everything just tanked at that point. I ended up like I basically went downhill from there. I basically went down to starting from the ground up again. I had to pivot a little bit. I was like, because dry cleaners were closed, I had a little bit of a business where I was able to sell to custom clothing companies and kind of get into that part of it, but
Survival
it wasn't enough
mode,
to support.
right?
Yeah, it was survival mode, and like I was taking on debt, and I was so committed. I'm so committed. I still am. I was and I still am so committed to this business. There's no way I was letting it go, and I knew that it was such an amazing product and business, and I knew we just had to make it through COVID, and I would just, even if I had to start over again, which I did, that's what I would have to do, because I was not letting this go. So the feedback was just phenomenal, and I literally had everything set up beforehand. I knew it was possible. Even if I lose those relationships, it's just a matter of doing the same thing I did last time. And so so we went through like a year or two of like that COVID shutdown, and just everyone. I kind of went longer, because even though everything started opening back up again, I mean
it was slow.
It was slow, and hotels and cruise lines were gone. They were so down for such a long time. Like they didn't even want to talk to me. Like, they were just like, we need to recover first before we can even start buying.
Right.
They lost so much money, and they just had everyone was in survival mode of just like, we need to concentrate on ourselves. Like we're not expanding, we're not growing right now. Like we just need to keep this business going. So I mean I think until obviously once travel started opening back up again, and things started opening, like our direct to consumer sales like automatically popped, started coming back in again. I mean sales were coming in every day. It wasn't like anything crazy. No, we were getting like in the thousands, e-commerce, monthly and stuff like that. And I just kind of had to just carry the business until I was able to build up these relationships again. Eventually I was able to bring on.
Well, I mean, the thing you knew, right? It's a great idea. The idea didn't change. It's the industry that you were going after just took catastrophic dip that you weren't expecting, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like when I talk about success, it's right place, right time, and
Hmm.
I was in wrong place. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in the right place. Oh, I guess right place, wrong time. But
Wrong time. That's all.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just happened to be like at the same time. If it was any other year like this, I would have been fine. But it just
You've been
happened to be
fine.
that
Right.
exact year.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, so I mean, it was literally just yeah. So I started over again, just selling. I was a one man show again. So, started selling again because I lost my office space in LA where I originally was. So I just kind of had like temporary storage for the moment,
Yeah.
shipping everything out, and just growing it again. And then I was able to bring on some board members, started having investor meetings again, and just started gaining back these relationships and stuff like that. And then I guess 2022 is kind of where it kind of flipped back in positive
In your
direction
favor, right?
because that's kind of like that's where businesses were already kind of back up again. I mean, it was long. I mean, 2020, 2021, I
They
was
were
mostly
bad
COVID.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, those were bad years. So 2022 was better.
Yeah.
And so yeah, towards the end of 2020, like so sales were picking up. I was able to start working on a lot of things again. Towards the end of 2022, I finally, after a lot of investors meetings, we finally, which we're actually closing right now, a couple of years to go through our Series A. And so 2022 is when we got our first commitments to our Series A round to get some money back in the company and take it to the next level again. But yeah, I started, that's where I right away, like in 2022 and 23, like I started getting back into stores and sales online were picking up. And,
Yeah.
that business started just kind of like everything was just kind of falling into place. And then it was more of just the money thing at that point where and I was able to, even though I took on debt, I mean, when I tell investors how much debt I took on, they say it's nothing. I mean, I think I only took on maybe like during COVID, I think I only took on like 15 grand of debt carrying
Oh,
the
wow.
company
That's
through.
amazing.
Yeah. So I mean that's not, and that was all in credit cards. So I was
Yeah.
literally just floating the company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean for a company to take on that little debt, I mean I looked at it as I'm investing in the company, and
That's nothing. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I make my monthly payments on it, and I'm
Right.
good. Even
Yeah.
though there's a little bit of interest,
Yeah.
I have to. That is what I needed to do to keep the company alive. It could have been much
Hey,
worse. I mean, if I was in,
that's a great founder story, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's a
exactly. Yeah,
great story,
yeah.
right? Yeah. And it's funny. I had somebody on the podcast late last week who is a VC guy, right?
Right.
And he goes, show me the entrepreneur that would quit. And he's like, that's the one you never invest in. He goes, the one that just knows that they're on. He's
Yeah.
like, that's what you put your money behind.
100%.
You're a
Yeah.
prime example of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I literally, I didn't back down. I mean, I believed in it so much. I mean, I got married in 2020, and even after I got married, I mean, I was lucky enough to meet somebody, and my wife is the most supportive person like that I have next to me. I mean, she believes in it more than I do, probably.
That's
There's times
awesome.
where I was so down, and she was like, "You're not giving up."
Yeah.
So that was also I had good support. But yeah, I mean, I put my family through it also. I mean, I obviously I would never do anything to hurt them, but my wife was on the same page, and we all knew what we were signed up for. I mean, this as an entrepreneur, as launching a product and a new business. So yeah, I mean, I definitely went through the ringer, and
Yeah, you
I still have
did.
a lot of work to do.
But you're coming out the other side, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So now we talked about what the forward vision is. So talk about the vision, and then definitely show people how the product works a little bit, just so they can see it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so now that we talked about it for a while, I mean,
Yeah.
this was the first product I created. I mean, these are the InstaSteam pods. Yeah, you literally hang your clothes inside the InstaSteam garment bag that it comes with. You tear this open, fill it to the fill line here, just like halfway with water. Doesn't have to be exact. I mean, just fill this with water
Right.
so it's not overflowing, and stick this at the bottom in the middle next to the zipper. Zip it up. 30 seconds. This will be steaming. You leave your clothes inside for. I mean, it depends on you. Obviously, you know your clothes best, but we usually say 3 to 5 minutes for like a thin button-down shirt or something light. You can leave it. I have customers that leave it in for like 20 minutes, and they come back 20 minutes later, and they're like, oh, now I can take it out.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a set it and forget it product. Whether it's at home or you're showing up to a hotel. I mean, you get there, you unpack your suitcase, or you're at home, you take it out of the dryer, you hang it up, and walk away.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, you can come back 3 minutes later, and hopefully, and it'll be nicely steamed. You can put it on, or you can come back 20 minutes later, take it out, and hang it. For another time. And then so now we're launching other products. We have the spray now that works alongside the pod, so it has like fabric softener in it. And all our products, I mean, so aside from just creating an amazing like product that never existed before. I focus is also on natural components. It's a big thing
Right.
now. Like people don't want the chemicals and the scents in there and different things. So
Right.
the focus
Right.
is like everything I launched right now. My focus before launching it is to make sure that it's as natural as possible. To make sure that I want everybody to be able to use it. And my wife was kind of an inspiration for that also. When I create actually the pods I created before, but once the spray I created after we got married, and she has very sensitive skin. So when I created the sprays, I was, and because she has like a specific list of things she can use, I was like, I have to create this so my wife can use it.
That's awesome,
So
right? Perfect.
yeah,
Test case, right? Because if it
right.
works for her, it works for most people, right?
Exactly. And she has the
Yeah.
most sensitive skin out there. So I knew that if she can use it, like almost 100% of the people out there can use it. I mean,
That's fantastic.
yeah. So that's kind of my focus now, especially, with my wife. So, we want to launch stain removers and different things. So the goal is the best of my ability, obviously, if there's limitations, it can only go so far, but to keep it as
Yeah.
natural as possible. Yeah. So that's, so you can use it anywhere. I mean, it's the first clothing steamer allowed on cruise ships. You can bring it through TSA. I mean, you can use it anywhere. All you need is a water bottle and a pod, and your clothes are steamed.
That's
I
amazing.
steamed my clothes up I went to a convention once, and I had a bottle of Coke. I steamed my clothes with Coke in the pod. So I mean, obviously it's not gonna smell great if, depending on what you're steaming it with, but
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
so probably use water, but if you're in a pinch, anything that's water
Yeah.
based will work with it
Yeah.
basically. So um,
Amazing, amazing.
yeah,
So now, looking out now, your goal is to, correct me if I'm wrong, is to get this in every hotel in the world.
yeah. The goal
Yeah,
is to get into every
every cruise ship
hotel.
too.
Yeah, every hotel, every cruise ship, and as many retail stores. I want to make it as accessible to people as possible. Like wherever you are, whether you're in a hotel, traveling on a cruise ship, or just you're traveling anywhere, you can stop in a store or wherever you're staying and just pick it up. Airports also. I mean, we're launching
Yeah,
in airport shops. Like the goal is to basically wherever you're walking, you can
yeah,
grab an InstaSteam. That's the goal.
yeah. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it.
yeah.
And you're already in a bunch of stores, right?
Yeah, and we're launching in
Online.
more. I mean, in the next couple of months, we'll be in 1,000 plus more stores in the U.S. And so yeah, I mean, we're growing, and hopefully this year is probably going to be our biggest year since COVID of launching with everything. We're going to be launching in
Oh,
more hotels, more stores. So yeah, hopefully by next year it'll be all over the place by next
yeah.
year for sure. Yeah,
There's not a single founder or CEO watching this that doesn't need these, and
yeah,
need and their spouses too. So everybody needs this. Like, why
absolutely.
wouldn't you do this? It's
Yeah,
a perfect thing.
yeah,
Everyone wants their clothes to look good, and
yeah,
no one wants to have to pull an iron out and ironing board
exactly.
in the hotel. This is perfect.
Yeah,
Folks that that I travel with, they do the little thing of turning the shower on, hanging their clothes up
right.
there. This is way better, way easier, and way faster.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, this is basically a shower in a bag. It's
yeah,
like, yeah, it's a more concentrated version of that.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with InstaSteam, you have no excuse. I mean, it's a convenient product that you can use anywhere. I mean, you don't have the excuse of having to sit there doing it, and you don't need electricity. So I mean, you literally just pop. If you could stick your clothes in the washing machine, you can use it. So it's a pretty
Yeah.
easy thing to use.
I gotta tell you, Ari, we're definitely gonna have you back, in 9 or 12 months, and just check
Right.
back in and see how, because I hope everybody is gonna try it. I know we're gonna try it immediately. This is
Right.
fantastic.
Yeah.
We're gonna be rooting for you.
I appreciate it.
I told you I was gonna ask you a couple questions. One
Yeah.
is, what do you do with AI personally to make you yourself a more efficient founder?
Yeah. So I use AI in a ton of different parts of the company. I use it every day, just whether it's just looking over things that I'm doing, whether it's documents or emails. Sometimes I'm in like I know how to communicate. I took business communication, and I kind of have experience in that, but sometimes I just kind of want to make sure that I'm communicating properly and not emotionally. So if it's a customer or something I have to respond to, I'll have my messages looked over just to make sure I'm getting the message across properly. I try to use it for marketing, organization. Yeah, I mean, we're implementing it into every part of the business essentially.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, because the thing is, and we're going to be doing a virtual workshop for folks, but for founders, because what you just said, and I hope everybody listens to what Ari just said, is that AI is not like there's this myth out there like it's an IT function. It is
right.
not. It
No,
should be in every department. Everybody
yeah,
should be using it,
yeah,
right? And you just said that you have it in every part of your business.
Yeah. I mean, every day, we're just finding new use cases for it. I mean, and there's constantly companies they're making new technology using the AI in different, in different departments and things that you can use it in. So like, as these things come out, as soon as there's a new one, I'm like, okay, how do I make my life easier?
Right. And that's what it's about. How do you make yourself, 2, 3, 5x more productive?
Right. Exactly. Right? Yeah. And like, it's not that like I said before, like there's certain things where I could do on my own. Like I can write something out on my own but sit there for hours doing it. But, if I can get my idea across in 2 seconds and then, use AI to make it, 10 times faster and get, the same results, I now have more time time is money. So if you can use AI to save time, you're making more money,
Amen to that. Thank you for saying that. All right, last question, right? I told you I was going to ask you. So magic wand time. Hypothetically, if I could give you a magic wand so you could blow your growth goals out for the next 12 months, what would you use it for?
For me as a consumer product brand, it's a split between infrastructure and marketing. I would say that infrastructure is super important. I need to be able to handle manufacturing all the product for every deal that we bring on. That's probably our biggest problem right now, is just the scaling. In terms of being able to keep up with inventory. When we have a new deal and they're like, okay, we need 100,000 units. We're like, okay, now we have to start planning out, okay, how long do we need to do that? And what's our capacity, in this manufacturer? And now with tariffs coming up, we're opening manufacturers in India and trying to diversify our manufacturing. So I would say that I'd probably use the magic wand to just build out our infrastructure. Because if I could just go poof and we're a global company in terms of infrastructure and we could just handle anything, the rest is easy. Obviously marketing and all that stuff is important, but that's just a matter of pouring money into. The infrastructure is the biggest headache. Because it's about
you want to be able to deliver to the customers you sign, especially the big ones. But everybody, you don't want the small one because your brand is everything.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to burn bridges, and you want to make sure that you can keep your promises and fulfill what you need to do. So probably the infrastructure would be one of the main things I'd use it on.
Awesome. Well, Ari, thank you so much for spending time with us, for sharing your story. It's amazing. And like I said, everybody on this podcast hopefully is going to use your product, everybody watching, but we're certainly going to be rooting for you and checking in with you from time to time, make sure that, we're seeing this thing take foothold like it should.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, thank you to Ari for sharing your insights with us. This wraps up this episode of the Future Proof Podcast, where we always say change the plan, but never the goal. Thanks, Ari.
Thank you.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.